First pitch is set for 6:40. Turning to the Packers, they're continuing their go through their offseason program. Things will take a step up next week when they begin phase 3 with OTAs. It's going to be everyone's first look at a new offensive line that won't have Elton Jenkins or Rasheed Walker anymore. Instead, it's going to be Sean Ryan at center and former first-round pick Jordan Morgan at left tackle. Morgan going to be replacing Walker. Offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich confident it will go smooth.
Last year, Rasheed was out for a little while in preseason, so then we moved Jordan to left tackle. He did a great job. He went and played in preseason against some pretty good defensive linemen, I remember, from the Colts last year. And I saw him play, and I was like, yeah, he's ready. He looked pretty good. We had to use him in other spots last year because that was what was best for the team, but I'm excited about him this year.
Again, OTAs get going next week in Green Bay.
Everyone should feel confident about their path forward. Exact Sciences is now Abbott, and together they will transform the way cancer is detected, diagnosed, and managed for more people around the world. They continue to help patients and healthcare providers make timely, informed decisions before, during, and after a cancer diagnosis by partnering with the industry's best minds and top institutions to transform how to approach cancer. Known for the Cologuard and Oncotype DX tests, allow Abbott to help make a positive impact in your health path forward. Learn more at abbott.com.
Well, the NBA draft now just a little more than a month away. That was the deadline that co-owner Jimmy Haslam said that they'd like to have the Giannis Antetokounmpo situation figured out, whether that means him signing to an extension or trading him. They wanted the draft June 23rd. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Pritt.
As the Cubs are down to their last chance and they trail by 3.
Ground ball to short. Ortiz. Crow hop, a throw in time, and the Brewers take down the Cubs 5-2. They've secured the series victory and can go for the gravy tomorrow night.
He's showing us over and over he's that kid. You know, he's showing that to us over and over in that role. He did it last year in the postseason. He's doing it again this year. That was big.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
It's the final out last night. That's from the highlight compilation. Major League Baseball does a really good job making those cut-ups, getting them up on YouTube so I can rewatch when the Brewers win and then obviously ignore when they lose. So you heard a little bit of the Cubs call there, and then I believe Levering with the final out. And then Pat Murphy after the game talk about it. You know, we saw him do that last season, proved it to us in the postseason that he's that guy. That was big, right? When I first cut that sound, I thought he was talking about Misiorowski, and that's where I want to begin the show with Misiorowski. He's actually talking about Chad Patrick. Applies to both guys, but Chad Patrick coming in with the bases loaded after Renifo booted that grounder, getting a huge out. The Brewers at the time had a 3-run lead, but man, you wanted to keep it that way. And Chad Patrick coming in when the crowd is loud, the bases are juiced, and getting that out. So first glance, I listened to that cut from Pat Murphy, and he said, look, he proved that to us in the postseason last year that he's that guy. That was big. Applies to Jacob Misiorowski. But he was talking about Chad Patrick, who had a big moment last night as well. Brewers win. They win the series. They'll go for the sweep tonight. The lineup is out. And the Brewers tweeting, going for the sweep, hunting a sweep. So looking forward, hopefully the Brewers can complete it tonight. That would sure make this week a little extra fun. I'll take the series win. Be extra to get a little, be fun to get a little extra greedy tonight. So this is the Wisco Sports Show. We'll start with the Brewers. My name is Grant Bills. Happy to have you here. And I'll take your calls throughout. 608-321-1670 is the number if you'd like to join. Curt Hogg going to be here. I recorded something short with him earlier today. I wanted a little input on what Jacob Misiorowski's been doing. So it's about 10 or 12 minutes with Curt. That's all. Second hour, 5:30, Jesse Temple will be here. He'll make his weekly stop to talk Badgers Connect. And, of course, you hear him with Zach on The Camp as well, the number one Wisconsin football podcast. And the swing's pretty darn good, too. So, Badgers fans, you know Jesse, you know Zach, our sports director. So he'll be here. It's Wednesday at 5:30. I think a lot of Brewers fans are underrating how good Jacob Misiorowski has been. Not everybody. But I almost think there's something similar with Jacob Misiorowski and Jordan Love. Apples to oranges, more like apples and kiwis or apples and potatoes. Like they're both foods. They're different foods, but they're both foods. They're both sports. Like I think we can compare our quarterback situation to a starting pitcher rotation. Packers fans, we've become so accustomed to high-level quarterback play and a quarterback that just Doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. Quarterback that wins a lot of games. The expectation for the quarterback in Green Bay after the last 30 years, pretty high. And I think that's evidenced sometimes when, we'll get calls on Bill's show or on this show with complaints about Jordan Love, this or that. It's like, you guys talk about him like he's a bottom 10 quarterback in football. Maybe he's the 6th, 7th, 8th best guy any given Sunday in the NFL. You realize that's still pretty good, right? But our minds, not all of our minds, but a lot of our minds have been warped. And I think sometimes that hurts our perception of how good Jordan Love might be, or certain nitpicks or certain complaints. Not saying he's beyond criticism, definitely not. But I think it's hard for us sometimes to accurately criticize and to break down our quarterback because, well, he replaced Aaron Rodgers, who replaced Brett Favre, who won 3 straight MVPs, resurrected the franchise, won a Super Bowl. Pretty tough comparison, pretty high company for Jordan Love. I think there's a similar element. There's a similar thing happening with Jacob Misiorowski. Starting pitcher, very different than quarterback. Baseball, very different than football. But I would say really since Woodruff, Burns, and Peralta came up. So we're talking about 2019, really into 2020, but 2020 is weird. So let's just say 2021, starting in 2021. The Brewers have had really good starting pitching. And while for the first couple of years it was Burns, Woodruff, Peralta, and you could count on that for a couple of seasons, they've traded away some of those players. Freddie Peralta and Corbin Burns first, Freddie Peralta this last offseason. They've brought other guys up. They've brought other guys in. They've acquired players into the AAA level and then promoted them. They've promoted guys from within. Lots of different ways they've acquired and developed and added starting pitching at the major league level. But I think Brewers fans, like Packers fans, we have a pretty high standard for starting pitching. We're pretty used to and we're pretty accustomed to whatever starting pitcher the Brewers run out there. Like, okay, but this guy's going to be good, right? That's just the expectation because they haven't had a Matt Garza. They haven't had who's a real crappy starter that they tried to bring up. I can't even think of one. It's been so long. They've been on such a good run here of acquiring pitching, developing pitching, promoting pitching. We're pretty used to high-level pitching. And I think Pat Murphy, too, talked about this on Monday. Like, he lit up Robert Gasser in Sunday's presser. And Gasser's coming back from Tommy John, and he's their 9th starter? He goes 4 innings, gives up 2 earned runs in a spot start. And Murph's like, not going to cut it, not acceptable, not going to fly. He knows it. It's like, Murph, you realize that that's not, like, yeah, he walked a bunch of guys in the first inning, but the results of that start, like, that'll play. Most teams would love to get that type of performance from their 6th or 7th starter, let alone their 8th or 9th. Pat, Murph. Most teams can't just call up Logan Henderson and count on 6 solid innings whenever they want it. Or Coleman Crow for 5 or 6 solid innings whenever they want it. Like, Brewers fans, we've been a little spoiled. And I think on some level, we expected Jacob Misiorowski to be good this year. He has been good, and we're almost tone deaf to it. Now, I think we all recognize that striking out the number of guys that he's struck out and throwing at the velocities that he's throwing, we recognize that this guy's a little different. He's special, sure. But I think Brewers fans, because of our experiences over the last half decade and the way that pitching has come through this organization, we expected this guy to be good. He's been good. All right. The beat goes on. We're Brewers fans. This is what we've come to expect. And I think a lot of people are underrating just how good he's been. For example, I just typed in Misiorowski to my Twitter, and I'm just looking at tweets here. Let me just read you a couple. These are the first things that come up. This is from Matthew Mocha, New York Times. Jacob Misiorowski has allowed 0 runs while striking out 8+ in each of his last 4 starts. Here's a list of the previous 4 pitchers who accomplished such a streak in a single season. These are the pitchers who've done this. You ready for this? Jacob deGrom in 2021, Chris Sale in 2018, Clayton Kershaw in 2014, Pedro Martinez 2002. I'm surprised deGrom didn't do it in 2015, actually. Those are the guys who have performed and have had streaks similar to the one that Jacob Misiorowski is having right now. Oh, I don't know. Nobody special. Just deGrom, Sale, Kershaw, Pedro Martinez. I'm just scrolling. Here's another tweet. Other Misiorowski pitch trend notes. Left-handed batters are just 1 for 22 with 14 Ks against his 4-seamer in his last 4 starts. He's thrown 39 sliders to right-handed batters over his last 2 starts. He throws 72 total sliders to right-handed batters, over the first 8 starts combined. He's mixing in different pitches. Relied a little bit more. I wouldn't even say relied, just used a lot more of his secondaries last night. His velocity wasn't really where it was. He commanded it. His effective velocity, his effective location was very good. Jack Stern last night. It's incredibly impressive that Jacob Misiorowski is approaching his ceiling less than 30 starts into his big league career. And this, I think, is a dumb person way for me. Jack knows pitching, and if you read him, Brewer Fanatic, he's tremendous. He's been on the show. But this is the best dumb person way to understand and to comprehend Jacob Misiorowski right now. We saw the stuff last year. We saw what he was capable of last year. And when the season ended, we all thought, okay, the next step for him is to become more consistent, to control his stuff better, to limit his walks, to go deeper into games. And development for a pitcher isn't always linear. So if we're thinking of the best case version of Jacob Misiorowski, maybe we're thinking, okay, next year he takes a little bit of a step, or maybe he has a sophomore slump, and then he comes back the next year and tweaks a little bit. He matures. No. He's basically just he's the best version of himself right now, which is like the best pitcher in baseball, or right there with the best pitcher in baseball. Adam McCalvey. I just searched Misiorowski, and I'm reading you the top tweets. Jacob Misiorowski was only throwing 101 and only worked 6 scoreless innings against the Cubs on Tuesday while the Brewers pitched into first place, extending his 0.00 ERA into May. He's only one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. And Adam McCalvey with that tweet kind of pointing out what I'm saying. It's like, oh yeah, ho-hum, he only pitched 6 last night. He was only throwing 101. We're almost underrating exactly how good this guy has been. Per Elias, here's where Jacob Misiorowski's current scoreless streak ranks in franchise history for a starting pitcher. These are the other names. Cal Eldred in 92, Mike Caldwell in 79, Jim Slayton in 74, Moose Haas. Any Moose Haas truthers out there? In 83, Teddy Higuera in 87, and Freddie Peralta last year in 2025. That was late in the year. Like early August into early September. I think he's now up to 25 innings. Insane stuff. And the length is what's impressing me. You look at his recent starts. Not to just read you stats and to read you anecdotes, but I think this is needed because as Brewers fans, we're just so, well, of course, Freddie Peralta was good. They developed him. He was here for a long time. Corbin Burns is good. They developed him. Chris Hook, he was here for a long time. Brandon Woodruff, they bring in Sproat. They bring in Harris and all these guys. It's like, no. There's a little more there. The length is what has impressed me most recently. Last night, 6 innings, 74 pitches. He just was a little gassed, Murphy said. So there was no injury. There was no cramp. He was just said, I could give you 6, and he gave you 6. That's what Murph said after the game. 7 innings against the Padres, 93 pitches. 6 innings against the Yankees, 95 pitches. Pretty good lineup there. 5 1/3 against the Nationals, 85 pitches. Only 5 1/3. 6 innings against the Pirates, 91 pitches. 5 innings against the Pirates. So he's just pitching deeper into games. And a big part of that is he's pitching to more contact, and he's having quicker innings. And I thought maybe that was some sort of pitching adjustment. He's making more of a conscientious effort, not to obsess over strikeouts and to just pitch a little bit more contact. But I don't think that's it. I think his length and his efficiency has more to do with the way that hitters recently have been attacking him. This is Craig Counsell after the game last night, and this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the first inning, he probably wasn't quite locked in, and so we got some base runners on, and thought we took some good swings and just missed some balls, and then he got locked in, and so it was, that kind of, you're stuck in between of trying to get into a count or attack him early because he's got obviously strikeout stuff, and he just pumped tons of strikes. And you got to be aggressive. It's sitting there hitting with 2 strikes. You're going to be in trouble. So, he threw a lot of quality strikes.
So I'm going to interpret. I'm going to take what Counsell said there. Counsell's boring as hell, but he makes good points. I think this is how hitters have been attacking or trying to attack Jacob Misiorowski. Here's what's happening. Hitters in the first time through the order, let's say first, second, third inning, they get up to the plate and they say, okay, well, this guy can be a little wild. I'm going to try to work a count. I'm going to try to make this guy pitch to me. I'm going to force him to throw strikes. I'm not going to chase high heat. I'm not going to chase the breaking ball down and away. I'm not going to expand the zone. I'm going to get up here and I'm going to try to work a count. And Miz, other than really the first hitter last night, he would have retired the second hitter. Well, he let the first two reach. Yeah, but the second guy reached because David Hamilton booted a ground ball. So really for the first batter, he was getting dialed in, and Murph after the game said, well, the mound was a little different than the bullpen. I think for a 6'7" guy, it took him a sec to get calibrated. All right, cut him some slack. The first hitter, Nico Horner, okay, who's got a great eye. Just naturally, that's a tougher matchup when you're trying to dial in the zone. He starts pumping strikes to hitters number 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. These guys get up there and they're trying to watch or trying to work counts. And they fall behind 0-2, 1-2, and they're like, okay, well, you're never going to be able to hit him when you're behind in the count. So he's striking these guys out. They're up there trying to be patient, but because he's pumping strikes, they're down 0-2, which is basically like, Miz is going to strike you out. You can foul a pitch off. You can watch a fastball, up and in, but it's only a matter of time before you're getting struck out against stuff like that. So the first time through the order, guys are trying to work the count. Misiorowski's throwing strikes. He's getting ahead, and he's striking them out. The second and the third time through the order, the guys go up there and say, well, I can't fall behind 0-2. Okay, it's a death sentence to fall behind this guy, so I'm going to jump on him early. But you can't jump on him early because you're trying to jump on 101 at the chest, at the top of the zone. Or you're chasing a 96-mile-an-hour slider or whatever he throws down and away. So, yeah, I'm going to jump on him early because I can't let him get ahead. Okay, well, you're going to beat the ball into the ground, buddy. Like, you're not making good – you're not going to barrel that. So the first time through the order or so, guys are falling behind because he's throwing strikes. They're striking out. The second, the third time through the order, they get up there. Okay, well, I got to be ready. First pitch might be the best one I see. Turns out the first pitch is 102 at the nipple, or the fastest slider to ever exist, down and away. It's like, okay, well, you can swing at that, but you're going to ground it. So now he's working through innings that are 6, 7, 8 pitches. He is an impossible pitcher to face right now. I don't really know what the adjustment to that is either. As long as Miz can come out and throw like that and locate well enough, which for him is just the strike zone. He doesn't even need to dot the corners. I don't know what you do with that. And that's why we're seeing him with 60 or 70 pitches pitch into the 6th or the 7th, because the first time through, guys are like, I'm going to battle. And then they get back up there and it's like, yeah, I don't have a prayer with that. So I'm going to hack away. Well, good luck, buddy. Joey Ortiz is going to have a busy inning because you're going to bang 3 straight ground balls right to him, right into the gravel in front of the plate. Misiorowski, I think actually been underrated, which is crazy to think. But Brewers fans, we have a pretty high standard for starting pitching right now. And I don't know that we're fully appreciating the kind of stuff and the kind of outings that this guy is turning in right now. And I don't know that we're appreciating the fact that he had an exciting rookie year, comes back ready to lead the rotation year 2, and is just a stud. Corbin Burns couldn't pitch at Double-A his sophomore year. Jacob Misiorowski's like, I'll lead the rotation, whatever. Just let me bring my Pokemon cards on the road. Who you putting behind me? Bunch of kids with less experience than me? All right, fine. I'll lead the rotation and look like one of the best pitchers in the world. Your Brewers phone calls next, 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's disgusting to watch what Craig Counsell does on a nightly basis while the other guy in the other dugout kicks his ass every freaking time. Every time. Sickening. $8 million for that guy? He's a okay baseball man. Do you see any noticeable difference in the way the Cubs play for $8 million a year versus the way your White Sox play? Will Venable's probably making $1 million a year. Do you see a noticeable difference? I do not.
David Kaplan, ESPN Chicago. I have no analysis. I have nothing to add. Just no comment. Thought that was funny audio. Wanted to play it. Oh, shucks. Whoops. 608-321-1670. Your thoughts on the Brewers. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, this is Coach Fried here.
Hey, Coach Fried, welcome back. Nice to hear your voice. Another Brewers win.
Thank you. There is nothing better than the Brewers walking into Wrigley and just letting their nuts hang right on the north side there. Nothing better. I mean, spent all of last night listening to 670 The Score, falling asleep listening to Tim Allen's post-game, waking up listening to Catronio at work. It's just feeding me all the content.
It is funny. I'm such a child. Anytime the Packers win or anytime the Brewers win, it's like, I'm going to listen to this podcast now, and I'm going to listen to this show. Let's hear what they're saying on this radio station. I roll around in it like a pig in slop.
It was great. I mean, last night, Mad Max, we were down in the tunnels watching the game together, just laughing at PCA's comedic value he brings to Major League Baseball. There's just nothing better than this, Grant.
Life like this sure is sweet. They have, to use your phrase, kind of let their nuts hang out. I mean, these have not been well-played games going into the eighth where the Brewers have got one clutch hit to sneak out a win. Like, they've kind of gone down there and shoved it down the Cubs' throat.
No, I mean, Misiorowski gives you 6 very strong innings last night, and guess what? Here's Kyle Harrison for you. Good luck.
Yeah,
Wind blowing in as well.
Have fun. Yeah. Have a good time. Okay. Yeah. Is it Edward? Yeah. Edward Cabrera, the big ace offseason acquisition. The Cubs gave up Owen Casey and others to get this guy. Oh, the Brewers gave up infield slop. Here's Kyle Harrison. Have fun.
Brooms out. Brooms out.
Brooms out, Coach Fried. You're right. Appreciate the call about PCA. I don't get it. I think PCA's defensive numbers are overrated because every outs above average or, every defensive number I say, it's like, is he really that good? Like, certainly I must be dumb. So we can debate and we can argue how good PCA is on defense and whether or not his numbers are overrated, but he is good. We can all agree that he's a very good defender. He has a gag like that against the Brewers every year. He had one up against the wall in deep left center last year. He was stumbling around. He dropped it. Last night, drops a ball going over his shoulder. Like, what? He is a very entertaining baseball player. The strikeouts are explosive. He's almost fallen over. He's always jumping into the wall. He is an entertaining baseball player. I'm sure the Cubs would like him to be more entertaining in the way of getting hits and home runs and RBIs. Great entertainment value, though. I don't get it. Everyone says best defensive center fielder in baseball. Okay, like fine, maybe he is. Why does he always have a gag against the Brewers like that? It's funny, Coach Fried. You're exactly right. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, it's Clemhead Mike.
Clemhead Mike, good evening. Feels good to beat the Cubs.
Oh, my God. I've been enjoying this last couple of weeks of Brewers baseball. I'm really excited. I've been watching the Brewers since 1970, but for some reason, I'm really pumped up right now, and I do get a kick out of you playing those Chicago announcers the last 2 days. Those guys are very honest, at least.
Kaplan's
they
good.
Know they know that the Brewers are better than them, and they admit it, and they're not afraid to say it.
I like
it's
Kaplan.
Cool.
Coach was talking about how I listen to 670 The Score. I always put on 670 The Score after Bears games when they lose, and the post-game shows are they're so boring. That's why I like Kaplan. I wanted to find some audio today because he's actually going to have some spice. Sam Olber, our friend who was on Monday, he's going to have some oomph. I was listening to 670 The Score, and it's like, well, it's going to be a long season, but I wish their swing approach would be a little bit better. It's like, would you please erupt on air? That's why we listen to post-game shows.
Yeah.
That's why they're fans. That's what Cubs fans want to hear, not just me. Like, hey, Clemhead, if the Packers lose, don't you want to hear Bill get mad? Isn't that why you turn into a post-game show? Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I love I shouldn't say I love, but I do kind of love the morning after a Packers loss when Bill goes crazy and he starts ranting hard. And I always post on the live streams and love it, Bill. Keep up the great rant. Testify. I just love that one. I love some anger from Sports Talk Radio, and we have such gentlemen. We have such gentlemen in our state like you and Bill. And I'm glad you guys just don't rant. I mean, you guys do rant, but you do it at a good time when it needs it. I mean, you don't just rant every day for clicks and listens.
Nothing worse than a fake rant. I talked about this. I think Vagabond John called in about this. We're like the manufactured rant. It's like, well, no one wants that. But when your team's getting blasted by your rival and you've surrendered first place, like, I want a little, come on. Or when your team when the Packers blow a game to the Bears, give it to me. I want a fastball. That's why I'm tuning into a post-game show.
That's exactly right, Grant. But yeah, I can't wait till for tonight's game. And I might do a Grant Bill Sunday. I might go out, sit in the garage and listen to it on the radio. I got a really nice stereo out there. I might listen to it out there and drink some beers. I got a couple of Point red lager and some Point is it outdoor ale, adventure ale? It's very good.
I'm not sure. Bill talks about those. Did you say you remember Moose Haas? That's a player that you remember?
Yeah, Scott on the live stream has a way better memory than me. I remember Slayton and all those guys. Moose Haas. I remember Moose Haas and Vukovic and
Caldwell.
Those guys.
Mike
Caldwell, the one that blew at the Game 7 of the World Series. Well, it wasn't him, but Bamberger, was it Keene? Left him in. Gave up like 10 hits and he left him in the game. He's a gamer. The announcers. He's a gamer. He'll pull it out. No, he got his ass kicked. So. Yeah, the Brewers should have won that World Series. I'm still bitter. It's been, 44 years.
You should be bitter. I'm bitter about it. I wasn't alive for another 20 years after the fact.
Hey, Grant, over on the live stream, Thomas says you can't spell rant. Well, you can't spell Grant without a rant.
So this is true.
There you go.
Nice to hear from you, Clement. I'm going to get to one more caller here.
Thanks, Grant.
Jim Caldwell, or what Caldwell was it? I just had the list in front of me. We're talking about Brewers who have starting pitchers for the Brewers who had scoreless streaks as long or longer than Misiorowski. We have Cal Eldred, Jim Slayton, Moose Haas, Freddie Peralta, Teddy Higuera, and Mike Caldwell, 1979. No relation to Bobby Caldwell, I don't think. Guess you wonder where I've been. You know that song? I'd be bitter about 1982 too, and I wasn't there. You had a lead. And of course your closer's hurt. One of the 4 guys you ever retired in your stadium wasn't able to play. 608-321-1670. One more here, and then we'll go to break. Curt Hogg coming up next. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's the dark know-it-all from Monona.
Hey, Pete. How you been?
Okay. You and I'm afraid of crime in big cities. Bill Michaels really ran a lot of smack today. And you were talking about how smart your management was and how dumb the Mets were. They had all this money, and how to play. The Brewers know how to play baseball, hit and run and defense. During the All-Star break when Misiorowski's arm is dead and you're not scoring any runs, and you're losing 3-2. I'm going to call back and just remind you of all the smack that you ran today, and when you were talking about, we don't need a lot of money like the Mets do. We're smarter. So I want to hear you. You're going to start whining talking again about, oh, there's no salary cap, we don't have any money. And I'm a know-it-all and with a long memory, and I'm going to call in and remind you before you start talking about nudist colonies in the boundary waters.
Pete, that's such a thank you for that call. I guess we didn't talk about the Mets today. And David what? You're defending the Mets? Come on. They stink. They don't know how to play baseball. The Brewers, Pete, the Brewers are so much smarter than the Mets. And by the way, I don't complain about the salary cap until the Brewers lose to the Dodgers in the NLCS. And then I keep that, Pete, you know this. I keep that card in my pocket until the last possible second because that way, when I play it, it always has effect. I only fire that bullet when I know I have no other option. What are you defending the Mets for? And sure, Jacob Misiorowski's arm falls off. Okay, well, then they got Kyle Harrison and Brandon Sproat who look legit. And Logan Henderson looks great. So, all right, Pete. Thank you for the call, though. No one walks in with a wet blanket quite like you. And I appreciate it. I do. I get a kick out of it. Your sense of timing, Pete, is excellent. Brewers have won 1 million games here in a row. And they've now taken first place in the division. Pete says, okay, well, check back with me in July. Okay, maybe. But don't use the Mets as an example, dude. They're terrible. Curt Hogg's going to join us next, Journal Sentinel.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
I work for Pella because I know it's a company that builds and installs a quality product. The people that I meet, the stories that I hear, it's really one of my favorite parts of this job.
That's really it. I love being able to walk hand in hand with customers throughout the whole process from start to finish.
I love doing entry doors. When you show that picture of what their future entry door looks like and you get that big smile, that's just one of the best feelings.
Get the look you want for the home you love with 0% financing options available. Visit PellaWI.com today.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back, Jesse Temple. In 1 hour, it's Wednesday, so he'll make his weekly Badgers appearance. We'll reset at 5 o'clock. There's some NFL headlines worth hitting and a couple of Brewers things I want to pick at. Bobby in Menominee says, I went to the 2011 NLCS Game 1 when I was 11 years old. And while it was the greatest game I've attended, I will forever be haunted by the Cardinals fans chanting Deja Vu 82 as everyone was walking out. Well, that's a bummer. Okay. Curt Hogg, Journal Sentinel. I recorded about 10 minutes with him earlier today. Just to talk about Misiorowski. Here's our conversation. Enjoy. Curt Hogg, Journal Sentinel, should be required reading every day for Brewers fans and Brewer territory with Corey Knebel as well. Misiorowski, I want to talk about Miz because he's been absolutely untouchable in his last handful of starts. This month has been just ridiculous, Curt. And I think there's a chance that Brewers fans are still underrating how good he's been. What do you think?
Do you think so? Grant, when you texted me asking if we were going to talk about Miz, if that should be the topic, that's a little behind the scenes on the curtain inside baseball. I'm glad you did it. I am glad you did it because Grant, if you think about it, when Giannis hit the game winner at the Garden, what year was that? 18, 17?
Sounds right.
19, probably before 19, 17, 18. The kind of the moment that he announced who he is. You talked about it. Well, you didn't have a show because you were like 12. But if you had a show, you would have discussed it on these fine airwaves. When Aaron Rodgers went into Atlanta in the playoffs and torched the Falcons, you would have talked about it on your show. Maybe you had a show at lacrosse. Were you a Logan guy? No, you weren't Logan.
I'm not from lacrosse. I went to school there. I'm from Menominee.
You think that's okay? There's I think I did know that. I think I've seen a picture of
I probably had a cassette player at the time I was recording things.
Yeah, I have seen I think is there a photo of you in a Menominee cross country jersey? Why do I remember
cross
this?
Country at Menominee.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't fabricate that in my mind.
Be a weird thing that'd be a weird memory to make up.
Okay, maybe it was AI, but where were we?
2011. I would have done a show on that. That would have been
you would have done a show on it. Yes, the Menominee High School morning news with Grant Bills featured that game, and Grant Miz is on 5 for really 4 straight games of utter dominance, 5 games where he's looked like just different than everyone else. And I get to the point too where like I'm on, my own shows and my own stories, and you're like, oh, yeah, we really want to do Miz again? And the answer is yes.
I think we have
Yes. Yes, because he is one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball. And that was like not a certainty going into the year. And it just, he's answering all your questions.
Well, that's the thing. And this is what I texted you earlier today. We might as well let's have the pre-show. Let's have the pre-interview meeting. We'll just put it all in here next time. We'll just make the interview 2 minutes longer. But I texted you. It's like, Miz could have had a sophomore slump this year. I thought of Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
We all just assumed, well, he's our ace next year. And then he couldn't hang at AAA, let alone at the majors. So it's not crazy to think in another world, Miz comes up and he struggles at command and guys got a little bit of a beat on him. The opposite has happened.
I mean, if he had just looked like he did last season, even maybe like 5 to 10% better,
yeah,
that's a fine. Like, you can live with that. But like, that's realistic for what a lot of players do. How did Joy Ortiz's second season go?
Not great, but that was he had to change his batting stance because of his neck, so that's different.
Well, that was his first year.
Well, yeah, but it rolled over into the.
That's true. That was actually kind of when he started or stopped. Because he was good. He was hitting well at that point.
We were tweeting about an all-star thing. But yeah, we all looked at the rotation, and Murph has mentioned it. I know Murph does the aw shucks thing, and it annoys people. Have whatever opinion you want on that. But he is right about the starting rotation. They're so young. Now without Woodruff being there, they're all kids. And Miz is the leader of the children. And he's like the Pokemon kid. That guy has to lead the staff on top of being a regression candidate as a sophomore. And he's been everything they could have asked for times like 5. And I think Brewers fans, this was always going to happen. Brewers pitchers are always good, which is mostly true.
Well, that is mostly true.
That's why I think we're taking this for granted, or we're underrated.
Yeah. I do definitely think that there was a lot of reason when we saw what Miz did in the playoffs, plenty of reason to believe he would do something along these lines in the relative near future. But Grant, this guy was, lest we forget, last year at the start of the season, when these prospect rankings came out, he was like number 100 on MLB Pipeline. The Athletic had him somewhere around there as well. There was Miz fatigue. There was a lot of people that thought this guy was never going to start. And the simple fact that not only has he given you optimism that he can start, but like do it as one of the 3 best pitchers in baseball is, and he's done that in less than a full year's worth of time in the big leagues is it's pretty remarkable. I mean, the way he controls the baseball, he commands it is it's up there, at least in terms of like he might not be like Coleman Crowe, Brandon Woodruff command, but the way he can fill the zone, which is all he needs to do. He's being effective. His effective command is up there with just about anyone on the team. He's walking 8 per 9. Or not 8 per 9, 8% of batters. He's walking under 3 per 9. And I mean, we were like, can this guy like get it down to 4? Like that's a good starter. If you can get it down to 4, okay, keep under 5.
Last year you wanted it under 3 per inning.
Yeah. Yes. And I know one of your gambits when Freddie Peralta was here. People forget he was traded. I don't know if you heard that. They dealt him. One of your gambits, if I remember correctly, was like, I don't think people appreciate Freddie enough because and like his reputation to many degrees was earned. A lot of pitches, similar to Giovanni Gallardo's, but you can let the reputation sort of sully what actually happens. And Miz is not like there's no blowups. He's actually locating the ball well, and it's pretty incredible to watch.
Curt Hogg is here, the Journal Sentinel. You can't say command because that's a cop-out answer. Or if you're going to say command, you need to go behind the scenes to explain the command. What is the thing that Miz has improved most this year to have taken this step?
That's a good question. What has he improved the most? I'm going to say his ability to make the adjustment with his body. And like his thing that he always says is, he's always yelling at himself to figure it the F out. That's what he says. But then he says, "I figured it out," and then he's like, "Oh, there's another word in there." He's such a goofball sometimes. But that's how it is. Anyway, I think of the first inning last night where he throws 3 balls to Nico Horner, and then he walks Nico Horner right away, and then he's out of the zone a lot to who's their second hitter? Bush, maybe?
Yeah.
Whomsoever. And he works it full, but it didn't look good. He was spraying a little bit, and then ground ball. Then David Hamilton botches. It's like this, he's in trouble there. First and second, nobody outs. And we haven't seen him be remotely close to good yet. And then in the third at bat, wasn't great, but got what he needed to. I think McBride might have flied out. And then fourth batter, fifth batter, he makes the adjustment, and he doesn't lose the adjustment the entire rest of the game. He pounds the zone. The Cubs are in take mode, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Fastball in the zone. Fastball in the zone. I don't need my secondary stuff because I'm locating the fastball today. It's that he can click it in quickly, as opposed to I think the concern people had last year was it clicks off fast and then there's no user manual.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I mean, it's just a lot of limb. And I think Jack Stern has written about this and it's a lot of limb and body. And I know so much of pitching is replication, right? You want to move your body the same exact way every time, which is hard to do when you have limbs, that long.
Yeah. I'm a limb haver. As a fellow limb haver. Yeah. Controlling the puppies is tough.
There's a million things I could ask you, and we could do Brewers Cubs, and it's fun. But one more thing. I know we said we were only going to talk Miz, but I want to ask you about Brandon Sproat because I've been kind of tracking this guy on the show. All right, let's see what he does tonight, and let's see what Murph says about him because I'm trying to figure out the standard that they have set internally for Sproat. Murph a couple weeks ago said, well, we're not just going to let guys learn out there. We have expectations. But then he'll have a start where he, goes 4 innings and kind of really has to battle, and Murph will be like, that was good. We liked that. So, they clearly have an internal standard that might not match what fans are looking for. How can you best explain how the Brewers are bringing him along and exactly what they're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying, which, by the way, I think it's I enjoy that you always know what Murph is saying. It's like you're there. It's like you're in the room.
Well, the post game. I'm always absorbing the post game.
That's true. You're always enjoying the post game. That's a good thing to do. I get what Murph is saying, but on the other hand, they are going to let him learn and work through things and figure some things out at the major league level because they just love the stuff so much. And he is still a guy who, even though he's the kind of the oldest of that group, I guess Chad Patrick is probably a little more senior, but of Harrison, Miz, Henderson, Sproat, Harrison, whatever, the guys.
Bro, all of them.
Joel Drone's older too, but yeah, he's 25. He's got experience, but he is still maybe the guy who has the most development in terms of understanding how to pitch, understanding how his stuff works, understanding maybe the mental approach on the mound of executing this pitch, executing that pitch, commanding this pitch, commanding that pitch. It's close. It is close. Not in the sense of Miz is close to being he's going to be a top 2 pitcher once he just locks it in. It's close to just being a really, really good starter. And so I think you can absolutely live with what he's been giving you. I am curious about what happens later in the games because his stuff falls off the table a little bit. But that's another developmental thing, and he's helping them win. He is helping them win now. And what's he gonna do at AAA, man? What's that gonna do for him?
That's the thing. And this bullpen might be uniquely qualified. They have Patrick and Drowan, who's been nuts. DL Hall, I don't know that I want him going 2 innings a ton, but he can give you an inning and a third. This bullpen is just unique in that they can have a guy whose standard is 4 or 4 and a third. That guy can go every 5 days, and if he's pitching well, you can live with that length.
it has shifted from, I mean, look, 3-4 weeks ago, we were worried about the bullpen because the way the bullpen was structured was supposed to be like a bunch of single inning guys that throw gas and Aaron Ashby. And now it's like Aaron Ashby plus 2 other, maybe 3 other guys that can give you an inning, 2 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings. You don't know. It could be anything on any night. And then McGill has looked better, and Abner has kind of righted the ship as well. So the outlook has changed significantly because Shane Patrick and Shane Drone and Chad Patrick in the bullpen, which I guess we can't see coming, but we certainly weren't ruling out the possibility that the Brewers figure something out with this surplus of pitching.
Well, it turns out Matt Arnold probably would be like, yeah, guys, it turns out if you just get as many good pitchers as possible, you put it in a jar and you shake it up like it's going to work. And that has worked more often than not for the Brewers. Curt, you are just such a delight. We appreciate your coverage, your whimsy in the clubhouse, getting the best stuff out of these players and these coaches as well. Thank you for the time.
Of course, Grant. Pat Connaughton, I've been thinking about this. He might be a top 20 most impactful player in Wisconsin sports history. I'll leave you with that thought. They don't win a championship without him.
Oh, I don't disagree at all. Appreciate it, Curt.
All right.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
You know, Ernie, I take my job very serious, and I don't like to get on TV and say people choked. But that was a damn choke job.
Oh, what you're going to say?
I'm going to say it now. I'm very selective when I say it. what the Cavs. I don't understand.
What makes you choke and what makes you lose the game?
Okay, so they had a 20-point lead.
22.
Okay, and they just stopped. They just started going milking the clock, like a prevent offense.
Not only that, Chuck, I don't think the coaches from Cavaliers had great use of timeouts because me and Chuck was in this
scream timeout. Yes,
all timeout. So they allowed.
He let the league go from 20 to 6, and never called the timeout. But my problem was, if you go back and look, when you showed those highlights in the beginning, the ball was moving, everybody was getting wide open shot. You go back and look at the first 6 or 8 minutes of that fourth quarter, they were just going one-on-one. The shot clock was on their back every single time, and Kenny should have called timeout sooner.
Not this one.
Not Kenny. No, but that listen, like I say,
we knew you didn't mean him.
I give Brunson a lot of credit. He was fantastic, and the other guys chipped in, but that was a damn gag job right there.
A little bit of inside the NBA last night. I think that shows at its best when they get to criticize a team for doing something dumb, for losing. And in their criticism and in their mocking, they'll actually have some pretty good analysis, right? Things stagnated for the Cavs last night. Just 2-3 minutes on game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals last night. I had it on after Brewers Cubs, and I got disappointed because partway through the fourth quarter, I'm like, man, this is a bludgeoning. This isn't even close. This is a bummer for a conference finals game, especially because of how exciting Thunder and Spurs were earlier this week. And at one point, what was the largest lead? The Cavs were up 22. And all of a sudden I look up and it's in overtime. What did I miss? Oy. A brutal loss for the Cavs. Let me ask you this. Let me put it this way. For those of you who are just kind of like me, I'm watching the Brewers. That's my main squeeze when I go home. And then if I got nothing else going on, okay, these are one of the playoff games. We're into the conference finals, the 4 best teams, super manageable. Throw a game on, show me something. I'm interested. I'm generally invested. Same with the hockey. I'm probably a little bit more invested in basketball, especially at this stage of the postseason. If the Cavs would have beat the Knicks by 18 last night, we all would have said, well, or let me put it this way. Flip that around. I misspoke. If the Cavs beat the Knicks, if the Knicks beat the Cavs, which happened last night, but let's say they didn't mount a comeback. The Knicks beat the Cavs by 18. Well, we'd look at that and say, well, duh. The Cavs played game 7 on, what was it, Sunday or Monday? Like, they just played Sunday. Cavs aren't supposed to win that game. So, of course, the Knicks won. 1-0, not a big deal at all. The problem is the Knicks were clearly rusty because they had been off for a week because they swept the Sixers, I believe. The Cavs go to game 7 with the Pistons. You have a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. You have it. You have them. And then you gag it. Normally, I would say, well, the road team's supposed to lose game 1. But in an instance like that almost feels like 2 losses for the Cavs. And it opens up all of the James Harden things. You know what I mean? Like it almost feels like the Eastern Conference Finals is over after game, which of course isn't true. But that's, again, what it feels like. I think sometimes that really matters in a 7-game series, the feeling from game to game. If the Cavs beat the Knicks, if the Knicks beat the Cavs by 15, I keep misspeaking, nobody looks twice at it. Of course they did. The Cavs just played game 7, but for the Cavs to be up and to gag it away like that against a team that was just clearly rusty and now they're locked in, brutal. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Kind of funny. Very brutal. Conference finals should be fun. We'll get back to the Brewers after this. Jesse Temple, 5:30. First, the headlines, the update from Zach.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers will go for a sweep of the Cubs tonight down at Wrigley Field. Milwaukee has owned the first 2 games of the series after scoring Chicago 14-6. 6 more scoreless innings for Jacob Misiorowski last night. The win pushed Milwaukee back into first place in the NL Central, dropped Chicago into a tie for second with St. Louis, and had Cubs manager Craig Counsell having to answer questions if he's worried about his club
Well, we got 115 to go, and so they beat us the first two games. They beat us for sure, flat out. We got to come out tomorrow and try to salvage a game.
Tonight, the Crew will send Kyle Harrison to the mound. He's 4-1 with a 2.09 ERA. The lefty's given up just 3 earned runs over his last 4 starts combined. Cubs will counter with Edward Cabrera. He's 3-1 with a 4.06 ERA. Struggled a bit, keep the ball in the park of late, having given up 8 home runs in his last 5 outings. First pitch is slated for 6:40 after night. Crew will get tomorrow off before opening up a weekend series at home against the Dodgers.
Everyone should feel confident about their path forward. Exact Sciences is now Abbott, and together they will transform the way cancer is detected, diagnosed, and managed for more people around the world. They continue to help patients and healthcare providers make timely, informed decisions before, during, and after a cancer diagnosis by partnering with the industry's best minds and top institutions to inform how to approach cancer. Known for the Cologuard and Oncotype DX tests, allow Abbott to help make a positive impact in your health path forward. Learn more at abbott.com.
Well, the Packers are closing in on the end of Phase 2 of their offseason program. Phase 3 gets going next week with the team on the field for OTAs. Outside of one mandatory minicamp next month, the entire offseason program is voluntary, though many players have incentives in their contracts based on the percentage of time they take part in the program. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Pritt.
As the Cubs are down to their last chance and they trail by 3.
Ground ball to short. Ortiz. Crow hop, a throw in time, and the Brewers take down the Cubs 5-2. They've secured the series victory and can go for the gravy tomorrow night.
He's showing us over and over he's that kid. He's showing that to us over and over in that role. He did it last year in the postseason. He's doing it again this year. That was big.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2, want to reset with the Brewers. I have a fresh topic to sprinkle in. We're going to stick with baseball, at least for a bit. I have something new to add to the conversation. Quote from Ian Happ last night that I think, was instructive. I think it tells us something about the way the Brewers and the Cubs approach these games and this rivalry, and maybe why this rivalry has been lopsided. Recent memory. Jesse Temple will be here at the bottom of the hour to talk Badgers, make his weekly stop, Badger Connect, and the camp, sponsored by Brennan's Fresh Market. So we'll get to that at the bottom of the hour. The show tonight presented by La Crosse Beer House, corner of 3rd and Pearl, downtown La Crosse. Great place this time of year. More daylight, days feel longer. You feel more energetic, like you want to go out and meet a friend or hang out with a coworker after a workday because the sun is out and because I slept better and got up earlier this morning because it wasn't pitch black and 15 degrees. Right, so stop down, corner of 3rd and Pearl, right in the heart of downtown La Crosse, right in the middle of it all. Get a nice mug of authentic German beer. I like the Hefeweizen. They have a Dunkelweizen and a Dunkelbra and all. I don't pretend to understand these things. I barely understand an amber and a Pilsner, and that stuff goes over my head. But they'll tell you all about it. They'll set you up with a nice mug of delicious German beer, and of course, you can get some food as well. Fish fry on Friday is excellent, but go down for some eats after work or for happy hour, get the pig on a stick, the pig bacon is delicious. Get a pretzel, get the pig wings, not the pig bacon. That would be redundant. Corner of 3rd and Pearl, downtown La Crosse. And if you're not a member of our La Crosse audience on WKTY, just consider, I'm going to La Crosse for this or for that or the other thing down the road. Just make a mental note when you're in town, stop in and support them as a thank you for their support of the show. Like I said, I have a new Brewers Cubs thing that I want to introduce. But first, I want to take a phone call here, 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Well, things ain't always what they seem, so wake up, friends. It's Mad Max in the tunnels under Racine, currently on my way to Wrigley.
Oh, you're headed down to the national landmark, as they call it, Mad Max. Excellent.
Yeah, the federal landmark. I felt like I had to go down today. I was thinking about it the last couple nights, just going through the sweep with Kyle Harrison on the mound and also hoping to engage in a little horseplay at the pitch troughs. That never hurts either.
No, it is a good time. Look, I think Wrigley's cool. It's a fun time. It's a little bit of a production to get down there. Of course, it's a big city. But I think Wrigley is cool. It's a tough place to play, but it is a cool place to see a game.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate the shout out from Coach Freed earlier. I was hoping he was able to, I was hoping he'd be able to come down with me tonight, but he wasn't able to. He's a fellow horseplay enjoyer down there. But yeah, it is always a cool experience. And just trying to get down there has been a bit of a nightmare. Just getting caught in the traffic. I was hoping to take the tunnels down, but tunneling down the state line gets a little tricky because the Cabal has a lot of checkpoints that are set up down there, and I don't want to get caught and and disappeared, and then I wouldn't be able to be an important voice on the station to wake up the sheeple anymore. So I had to play it safe. Yeah, sorry, I have someone in the car with me. He wants to talk.
Just next to that point, next to former that point, you need to understand that the way that us and Coach Free communicate, it's only on the radio show.
Okay.
It gets pretty lonely out here on the highway between Milwaukee and Chicago, so you got to keep putting it on.
You guys only communicate via the radio show? You don't have Coach Free. You don't have Freed's number. This is ridiculous.
I don't have anything. I don't even have a phone.
So that's how you use, man. I'm surprised, but Max, I'm surprised you have a phone for as much of a conspiratorial fella that you are. I won't call you a nut job because that's a bridge too far. I'm surprised you have a cell phone.
They can figure out anything they want about us, no matter what. I mean, they got. Oh, sorry, my GPS is speaking there. See, they're always listening. They're always watching.
You and your fancy phone, Max.
Yeah, but no. Even if I didn't have a phone, I mean, they have drones flying around. They're that are spying on you. They use the birds too. It's just whether or not you have a phone, they can still. It's still a surveillance state, no matter what.
Brewers winning tonight. Kyle Harrison.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be a close win with the wind blowing in 3-2. I think Uribe is going to load the bases in the ninth. He's going to strike out PCA to end it.
You will see a Blake Perkins Jimmy Jack. Absolutely.
What did he say about Blake Perkins? And then I got to let you go.
You're going to see a Blake Perkins Jimmy Jack tonight in the seventh inning. Pinch hit.
Blake Perkins Jimmy. Okay, you guys drive safe. Good luck with the horseplay down there. We're going to see a Blake Perkins Jimmy Jack. Okay, that's the prediction. That will be the sequel to Cone Roller's prediction of Blake Perkins going yard. Yeah, on the live stream, they says the birds. Yeah, the birds are everywhere. I'm surprised Mad Max has a cell phone, but turns out he's so defeatist. He's not even trying to fight the cabal anymore. He accepts the surveillance state. The wind is blowing in tonight. Kyle Harrison versus Cabrera. I find this pitching matchup interesting and funny. The Cubs acquired this guy this offseason to be their ace, to be their stopper. He hasn't exactly been that guy. They gave up Owen Casey and some other prospects. The Brewers gave up infield slop to get Kyle Harrison, and he has been better markedly. We'll see about tonight. If the Brewers lose tonight, I'm not going to pop my load on the show tomorrow. I will accept a nice series win. I will keep level-headed. And we'll talk Packers. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's us?
And those two are just not to the stadium yet. That's beautiful. I hope you get a car. I hope you get a flat tire and you're stuck on Irving Parkway, 15 blocks away. Good luck. That'll teach you for going to Chicago on a weeknight.
I appreciate you saying flat tire and not car accident. I appreciate you censoring yourself. That's what it sounded like you were doing there, Dave.
Well, I wanted to say that, but I bit myself. But or get food poisoning on the first Italian. By the way, the stadium. I hope it's the first time going. The stadium's horrible for watching games. Half the stadium, you're behind poles. You got to remember, you Brewer fans, that stadium was built in 1917.
Yeah, it's like 100 years, but that's what's cool about it, Dave. Yeah, it's
but the seats there's a lot of them that are horrible because they never got rid of the poles.
Well, yeah, they don't want it to tip over. Yeah, the
poles that are obstructed view.
Yes,
where there's a lot of obstructive view seats because that's why when I get my customer seats all the time. But yeah, if you've never been to an experience outside the stadium, now that's an experience. That Miller Parker. I mean, the smells and batting practice and the Italians and the Chicago doggies and all that's an adventure.
So, Dave, why can your Cubs not beat my Brewers?
Oh, they just I called because you said Ian Happ. I think is it the comment that Ian Happ made to Bruce Levine last night?
Yes, and he doubled down today on the score. Yeah, it's and after the game last night too. It's basically like
I wanted to scream when I heard that. I threw my beer can going, and you wonder why you. By the way, him and Zuzinski are the worst two hitters in baseball with runners on base. One's back like 112, one's 149 going into the last night. And that great manager we got, like people, clown so he doesn't make changes. You got a young, hungry Brewers team. and we got a Cub team at half. Oh my God! I heard that. I'm going, okay. I was hoping you were going to tell me something different. He actually got booed last night. Half got booed.
Well, Council keeps running him out there in the 4-hole. I was talking to my buddy about this earlier today in a group chat.
I know you love it.
I have no, Dave. I'm fair and square on this show. I mean, they're the rivals. I mean, screw it. I want the Brewers to win, but
yeah.
I think Ian Happ is a lot like Rashawn Gary, where you look back at the end of the year and his numbers look pretty good. His numbers look good. Like, it's hard to argue. Like, Ian Happ's probably going to hit.
Ian Happ has been above 240.
Sure.
He's Jason.
But
who's
no,
the guy? Jason. The guy that Cubs signed for 7 years.
Jason Hayward. But here's the
Hayward.
thing. He's going to probably hit 28 homers, Dave. Like, you're going to look back at the end of the year, Happ. And
Who's
you're
going to hit 28 homers?
Happ. Or whatever, 25 to 30 homers. You're going to look back at the end of the year and go, yeah, but like in a lot of big spots, did I want him up there? Like, he's going to accumulate numbers over the course of the year.
Based on what? Right now, if you based on it over a 162 game series, he's not even going to reach 60 or 70 like Alex Bregman. They're all calling him the next Jason Hayward. $35 million.
Well, he's
on pace for 55 RBIs and like 13 home runs. I said, people, maybe if you didn't have two guys behind him that strike out all the time. Oh my God!
Okay, so
Happ doesn't even belong in the major league.
So 28 might be a little high. The last couple of years he has 23, 25, 21, but he's already hit 10 this year, Dave. He's at 10 home runs already. My point, I'm being critical. Just let me finish. He's going to hit a number of home runs and RBIs where you look back at the end of the year and think, oh, that's not so bad. It's a pretty good year. But there's he leaves you wanting so much. It was the same with Rashawn Gary. Like, well, the pressures and the numbers are okay. The numbers aren't that bad, but when you watch every night, it's like, that's not the guy on that contract.
How about when guys are on third base? How about when you get guys on third base, it's under 100? Here's a stat I learned that this morning on Twitter.
Yeah.
391 runners on base, the most in baseball the Cubs have left on, strictly because of our 3, 4, 5 hitters.
Yeah, and all three of those guys, Suzuki, Happ, and Bregman, they're making.
I know the Brewer fans love it, but but I have to. When they have said that, it's like, man, I wanted to just say, hey. And by the way, one comment on PCA. I didn't know if I gave my comment about PCA.
Mm-hmm.
I told people don't ever change. PCA is apologizing. Never mind. You already talked about that already. Yeah, you and I did yesterday, but that's what I called. I mean, those guys. I hope a pigeon poops on your head and you get a flat tire, and that'll teach you for spending $100 and $200 on a ticket.
So appreciate it, Dave. I let Dave go a little bit there because he's a Cubs fan. So 28 might be a little rich, but Dave, he has 10 home runs already. He's got 68 strikeouts, man. Good God. My point about Ian Happ is he's the type of player you look back in September and think, oh, those numbers aren't nearly as bad as you think, right? But he's going to feast on bad pitching. He's going to have one weekend where he hits a couple that don't matter. Like, he's just not that guy. With runners in scoring position this year, he's hitting 148 with 27 strikeouts in 54 at-bats. Yikes. And Kreger's has him hitting fourth. I don't know if the lineup is out tonight. Let me check. These are the days where I really wish Intern Austin still was in this building so we could bang him over the head with this. Ian Happ, he's not hitting cleanup tonight. He's hitting third instead. Let's take one more call, and then I'll give you that comment from Ian Happ. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant Bills.
Vagabond.
Wednesday. How we living?
I'm living well.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing well. Captain Hogg just made a comment there about, one of the role players in the Milwaukee Bucks championship team.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't let that go. So I'm going to run through. I'm going to work fast, and I want you to think about what's the name of the player that he said.
Pat Connaughton.
Pat Connaughton.
Yes.
I got 20 names in front of me. I want you to tell me which name Pat Connaughton, once it gets done with that, we're going to go least important to most impactful as a player. All right. Mark Johnson, obviously beat the Soviets. Joe Thomas, Sidney Moncrief, Christian Yelich, Frank Kaminsky, Ray Nitschke, Charles Woodson, J.J. Watt, Dwayne Wade. Shut up, Marquette fans.
Dwayne Wade's out of there. Dwayne Wade's out of there. I'll kick him out.
All right,
Keep going.
all right. Don Hudson, Ron Dane, Robin Yount, Hank Aaron, Reggie White, Aaron Rodgers, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. You're going to throw out Dwayne Wade. I would throw in Donald Driver.
Sure.
Do you think there are any other names where you're going to take a role player on a one-time championship team that ended up not doing anything We're spoiled in Wisconsin, man. We've had some dynasties. Captain Hogg, you're better than that. All 20 of those guys, even the Marquette legend himself, Dwayne Wade, I would put above a role player on a one-off championship year. That got a championship because what's his name's foot's too small. Yeah, that's all I got. I know I got to work fast. That's I'll hang up and listen.
I appreciate it, Bagbot. I think his point wasn't that obviously Pat Connaughton's not a bigger figure or more iconic than any of those guys. I think Curt's point was if we're looking at teams that have won titles, which matters to me, like they don't win that title without Pat Connaughton. Everyone talks about Chris Middleton, PJ Tucker, but there's a couple of those 3-pointers that he hit, man, where it's like that's the difference. Like Fred VanVleet in 2019, that's the difference. So I understand where Curt's coming from. If you missed Curt's appearance, we talked Brewers, and then at the end he threw some sports, napalm into the air, and it's like Pat Connaughton, top 20 Wisconsin sports figure of all time, wouldn't have won that title without him. Correct. I don't know that means he's a top 20 figure of all time. I just think more so that means that Pat Connaughton very underrated, and we don't often think of him. Ty Windish does. He's in the Buck space. He's your Pat Connaughton champion. Get Dwayne Wade out of there. Get that out of my. I don't care about Dwayne Wade. Here's the comment from Ian Happ last night after the game, basically talking about the season up until this point, and asked about their recent slump. This is Ian Happ.
Yeah, no, I think every year has periods like that. I do think that, if we had the same record we had today, but we just won every single series, it would feel a little bit different, a little bit more consistent. And, there's pros and cons to, winning 10 straight twice and, having the record we have. But I think when you reflect on the whole thing, we're, whatever it is, 12 games over 500 or something like that, and sitting in a good spot. If you would have told us this was going to be a record at this point in the season, I think everybody would have signed up for it. So move on from here and attack tomorrow.
So he's basically saying, we won a lot, but now we're losing. If we just won all the series, I would take this. This is fine. This is just not what people want to hear after a loss and a series loss to your rival that's now overtaken first place. And he's kind of stated this quote, doubled down on this quote in a different couple places. I'm trying to find the original one that he gave to Bruce Levine. Did Levine tweet it, Dave? I wish I would have asked Dave exactly. Dave's blind. He's better at finding this stuff than me. What the hell? I'm just going to comb his Twitter one time. But the point of this all is Ian Happ, like Craig Counsell basically said, it's too early in the season to worry about the standings. It's too early to worry about this. His point was basically none of these games, these Brewer games, don't mean any more than any of our other games. This series doesn't mean any more than our other series on our schedule. And I think that's why Ian Happ and Craig Counsell are just so friggin' perfect for each other. Because, correct, all 162 games count the same. And every season or every series of 3 or 4 games is worth the same as every other series of 3 or 4 games. Now, mathematically, you could look at the division matchup and say, well, technically this one mathematically does mean more because your win is also their loss. But again, from a technical standpoint, no game is bigger than any other on 162. But I think Cubs fans want to hear, like, we don't like these guys. These games mean more. And this is Craig Counsell asked if he has any concern.
Well, we got 115 to go. And so, they beat us the first 2 games. They beat us for sure, flat out. We got to come out tomorrow and try to salvage a game.
I think what Cubs fans want to hear is we are not happy with how this series has gone. These guys are our rivals. To beat the division, we need to beat them. These games mean more. I think that's what fans need to hear. And I think it's a little instructive on how the Brewers approach the thing versus how the Cubs do. Pat Murphy's whole win tonight mantra versus, it's a long season. Okay. All right. So you said last year too, and the Brewers zipped right by you. Take a 3-minute break. If you have anything to add on to the Brewers, excellent. I'll take your call. Or I would imagine somebody's got something to say about Vagabond John's top 20 list. Get Dwayne Wade out of there. Your call's on all of that next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
I work for Pella because I know it's a company that builds and installs a quality product. The people that I meet, the stories that I hear, it's really one of my favorite parts of this job.
that's really it. I love being able to walk hand in hand with customers throughout the whole process from start to finish.
I love doing entry doors. When you show that picture of what their future entry door looks like and you get that big smile, that's just one of the best feelings.
Get the look you want for the home you love with 0% financing options available. Visit PellaWI.com today.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Last thing before we get out of here, I know I praise the Brewers a lot. I'm really sick of Pat Murphy's shtick of we're the underdogs. Nobody knows our names, folks. If you didn't know that, there's people. First of all, okay, you're the favorites. You win it every year. I might do on a solo show like a Cubs Brewers draft to illustrate this. Like if we were drafting pitchers, how many Cubs pitchers even make it? Palencia and Imanaga, is that it? Yeah, Milner maybe?
So, yeah.
Like stop acting like this is and I get it. Financially it is. Financially, but come on. Enough of this, okay? Clearly the organization from the top down, there's no underdog stuff here.
Sam Olbert, Locked on Cubs. He was on a Monday. I just always picking for audio during Brewers Cubs series. What are the rivals saying? Keeping an eye on the enemy. We talked about Pat Murphy's underdog routine yesterday. And I think it's such a paradox because I think the approach and the young, hungry underdog mentality is so important to their success. I think it's a big part of the way they play and the way they run things. But I think in order to get to the next level, beyond that, like you need to shed a little bit of that, but in shedding it, does it take away who you are? Does it take away what makes them good? I don't know. That's why I think it's best described as a paradox. Jared and DeForest on Ian Happ's comments said pros and cons to winning 10 straight twice. Sounds like major cope to me. What's a con to winning that many in a row? Twice, no less. Not enough adversity? Good text. Not moments to rally as a team? Fans can't handle times and ebbs and flows of a season if you win too much early on? What he really said was, yeah, we aren't as good as we thought we were. Maybe. Possibly. Look at this Cubs lineup, but there's just a lot of redundancies. Bush, Bregman, Happ, Suzuki, Ballesteros, Swanson, Pete Crow Armstrong. These are all guys who just like strike out a ton and they rely on a lot of power, you know? And I know they faced Misiorowski last night, so these numbers are skewed, but Bush, Bregman, and Happ and Suzuki all struck out twice last night, twice apiece. Swanson, PCA struck out and PCA like fell over in the process, which I know it's just still a strikeout, but when it looks that bad, I just think it accentuates the point. You know what I mean? Like Nico Horner is supposed to be the guy who can put the ball in play and make some plays. He did have 2 hits last night for what it's worth. But other than that, it's just a whole lot of nothing. So I'm excited to watch Kyle Harrison tonight. I think this matchup is interesting. Again, I'm always looking for storylines or matchups or part of a Brewers Cubs series because that's the rivalry right now. So if the Cardinals were really good, we'd be doing this with the Cardinals, or if the Reds were, you know, what we thought maybe they were for about 5 days there, then maybe we'd be doing it with the Reds. But I'm always looking for something in this matchup and in this series. It's like, okay, that's illustrative of the differences between these two teams, or that's illustrative of the similarities between these teams. You're just always looking for things that we can circle and talk about on the talk show, really is all this is. And one of the things tonight will be the starting pitching matchup. So the Cubs acquired Edward Cabrera this offseason for Owen Casey and other things. Owen Casey was their ginger Canadian outfielder who was like the one guy who could hit Misiorowski last year. That's what I remember. Let me see here. Miami acquired Owen Casey, Major League Baseball's 47th prospect overall. So top 50 prospect in baseball. Infielder Christian Hernandez and infielder-outfielder Edgardo De Leon in exchange for Cabrera on Wednesday. Casey, who is the Cubs' top prospect, so the number 1 prospect, became number 3 for the Marlins, and Hernandez, who is number 11 for the Cubs, slotted in at 12. So what the Cubs did this offseason was trade their number 1 prospect and their number 3 prospect for Edward Cabrera, their starting pitcher, who so far this year has not really been all that good. And I'll give you the stats here just to kind of highlight it, I guess. And the ERA, like, I don't know, ERA only tells me so much. He's got a 4.06 ERA in the year, which is not good. But just to give you an idea of some of his starts, the lines that he's turning in: 4.2, 3 earned runs, 5 innings, 5 earned runs, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 5.2, 3 earned runs, right? Those types of starts. Like, yeah, not like basically Freddie Peralta level starts. That's what he's giving you. He's giving you Freddie Peralta level starts. It's not the type of player you expect to get when you give up the first and third best prospect in your system. Imagine the Brewers giving up Jesus Madej and I don't know who's 3. I know Pena's 2, assuming he can drink water and not pass out in the dugout. But imagine giving that up for Cabrera. This guy's supposed to be a stud, and he's been the down version of Freddie Peralta. The Brewers trade Caleb Durbin, who this year, by the way, is hitting like 165. I know he was in the Rookie of the Year conversation last year, but whatever. They trade Caleb Durbin, Andrew Monasterio, and Anthony Siegler. They trade what I keep referring to as infield slop. That's what they traded. They traded a bunch of major league level infield slop. There's no ceiling there, unless you believe that it's there with Durbin, but I don't. He's tiny. There's not much power. There's not much pop. Not really even that much speed. The Brewers trade infield slop for Kyle Harrison and Shane Drohan. Shane Drohan's been excellent in long relief, and Kyle Harrison has an ERA of like, what, 2.2? I just keep Googling player stats here. Kyle Harrison's been outstanding. He's 2.09. Better than 2.2. He's 4-1. A whip slightly over 1. What's his walks per 9? He's been outstanding. He's limited walks, too. I want to know what his walks per 9 are, but I don't want to do the, I don't need to expand to the advanced stats. 3.7 walk to, or strike to walk out. Yeah, that'll play. Kyle Harrison cost I'm not exaggerating. A tenth of what the Cubs paid to get Cabrera. A tenth. The Brewers didn't give up a prospect. Guys. I know I didn't like the Caleb Durbin trade at the time either. I thought they had enough pitching. Stupid. You never have enough pitching. Stupid, dumb. I know. Ignore that I was wrong about it. The Brewers gave up a third baseman who's currently hitting 167 and doesn't have power, so that's not really a third baseman anyways. A backup infielder and a backup infielder. The Brewers traded that for 4 or 5 years of Kyle Harrison. That's a tenth of the price. Might even be less than a tenth. What's the difference between Major League Caleb Durbin and the number one prospect in your system? Now, the Brewers' number one prospect right now, Jesus Medea, is the number one overall prospect in baseball. I'll just mention that serendipitously. Owen Casey was like the 45th. But still, it's the number one prospect in your system. They gave this guy up to get Edward Cabrera, who's been meh. Brewers like, we'll give you infield slot for Kyle Harrison as long as you throw in Shane Drowan too. And an infielder, please, David Hamilton. Okay. Modern day Esteury Ruiz, infield Esteury Ruiz. And that's the matchup tonight. There you go. Therein lies the difference between these two teams. Grainman Mike says, Grant, where were the Brewers picked at the beginning of the year? How many wins? How are they not underdogs? Chicago fans keep losing to the Crew. Yeah. Yeah, they weren't picked to win the division, but I understand why people roll their eyes at that from Pat Murphy, including Brewers fans. They weren't picked. The odds had them at like 83 wins. I know. Murph lays it on a little thick. So I get the frustration from other fan bases, including lots of Brewers fans. Let's take a call here, and then we'll take a break. Get to Jesse Temple, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
What's up, perverts?
Market Plunger. Good evening.
What's up, boss?
Howdy.
How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How about you?
I can't complain.
I missed the Thursday night show. I miss going out to Monks and seeing you guys.
I do too, man. I'm counting down, and hopefully it's going on again, but like end of August, I think. So that's cool.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's already been renewed. We should be back at Monks this fall for Thorson and the
sweet. Thank you. I'll check in with Evo to make sure, but that's great to hear. Awesome.
Well, what do you think, Market Plunger?
Well, I like I was the same way. When I heard the Durbin trade, I was really disappointed. But then immediately, I'm like, they do this every year with guys that I like, and they're always better. So like, I just shut my mouth at that point. But I like, the Harrison trade right now looks fabulous. I'm, assuming it continues at this rate until the end. I'm glad, if it does, even if it doesn't, and they're, about equal. At this point, I'd rather have a better pitcher than a third. Yeah, like you said, a third baseman. But I like Durbin. I was upset. I was upset when they canned Peralta and when they got rid of what's his name, Adames. But
sure,
that's why I'm not a GM, because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They do.
That's the thing. And look, I think Caleb Durbin would help this team right now. Like, if you put Caleb Durbin in over, like, he would help them. He wouldn't make them dramatically better. They could use Caleb Durbin on this team right now.
No doubt.
But I think the Brewers viewed it at the same time. They're like, Hamilton and Renifo, or Hamilton and whoever we sign, will mostly be fine, and we can get 2 pitchers to add into the mix. So it's simple enough math.
And then they got a good pipe. I can't wait to see Jesus made, man. I'm excited.
Jesus Medea. Can you imagine trading him for a pitcher who's worse than Freddie Peralta like the Cubs did? Can't imagine.
That's what I'm afraid will happen with him, and he'll be the one that got away. But no, I'm excited, man. I'm not a like baseball fan. I'll watch parts of the game, but I always enjoy when they're doing really.
I do as well. It's hard not to enjoy beating your rival.
Fun way.
It is.
Yeah, and it's such a fun way, man. It's enjoyable.
It's a good time. I got to get to our friend Jesse Temple, who has hosted shows out at Monk's Market Plunger. I'm sure you've been there. Appreciate it. Nice to hear from you.
I haven't met him yet.
Oh, we'll have to make that happen this fall. Nice to hear from you, Market Plunger. I just got to run. I got to get to a break. Sorry.
I get it. Peace.
Market Plunger. What's up, pervert? Frequent morning show contributor and Thorson and Heilprin contributor, attendee. We'll take a break. Jesse Temple next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisco Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Jesse. Hey, Jesse. 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 Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse and old Jesse Temple will join us momentarily here. Market plunger. What's up, perverts? So I really had to sit down. I locked in today. There is not a guest on our network that I respect more in terms of, this guy's coming on. I got to have my ducks in a row. I gotta have questions. I gotta have material prepared. I gotta have talking points because I don't just want to BS. I won't waste that person's time. That person is Jesse. So I locked in today. Badger football, but especially a couple Badger basketball takes, which I thought it's like no one wants to talk Badger basketball right now. He's like, actually, it's very front of mind with recruiting. He's got some stories coming at Badger Connect, which you'll hear him discuss. So here is our conversation from earlier today. Jesse Temple is here, Badger Connect, and you can hear him on the camp with Zach Halpern, presented by Brennan's Fresh Market. Now, Jesse, I don't do much entertaining, but when I do, I always get some cheese or some wine, some fruits. Anytime I need something fancy, which again is not very often at all, I tend to find myself at Brennan's. So it was nice to see that. Do you ever do any entertaining? You have Zach over? Should we meet sometime? No?
No. I'm curious to know what kind of entertaining you do, though, Grant.
It's okay. Loosely, it's more like I'm going home for Christmas and don't want to show up empty-handed type of. I'm contributing to someone else entertaining. Maybe put it that way.
You got to get that brie and wine combination so you look sophisticated.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's I feel a little bit more tasteful when I show up with some brie. We can melt this and dip it in wheat thins that I'm pretty sure I have in one of my cupboards somewhere. I actually want to start with the Badger Bite that released today, Badger Connect. Typically, we end with that, but you talked with Chris Brooks Jr., his journey up until this point at Wisconsin. You also used a jugs machine, and you didn't break your nose, as you tweeted, which I'm happy. But tell us about that conversation a little bit.
Yeah, so we had a chance to catch up after a recent spring practice about his journey at Wisconsin. Statistically, he hasn't put up huge numbers, but he's been a critical leader for this group. He's the best blocking wide receiver, and I think he's got a real chance to have a breakout senior season, at least based on what he did in spring practice. So we talked about his path. He originally committed to Yale, of all places, which will tell you how intelligent he is, and ended up coming to Wisconsin. I thought it was interesting because I didn't know this. Jim Leonard initially was interested in recruiting him as a safety, and I was like, well, how were you as a defensive back? And he said, that's the crazy thing. I never played defensive back, but one time I was a quarterback and I threw an interception, and at the end of the play, I completely cleaned the dude and he fumbled. And so Leonard thought I'd be a DB, but he knew my heart was at wide receiver. So that was kind of a unique story. But at the end, we do go to the jugs machine, and I do all sorts of crazy stuff just to probably show how hard it is for average Joe. And man, those passes come out way too fast. It took me a few to adjust to, but yeah, I didn't break my nose and was able to snag some catches, and all thanks to Chris and his help.
So Chris Brooks Jr. and it's Jalen Domingo, right? Their transfer from DiMaggio from
Jalen DiMaggio, yes,
DiMaggio, Southern Louisiana, and this wide receiver group. And it feels like anytime I've talked to you or Zach about what you saw at spring ball, it was kind of one guy would pop this day, another the next. Like there wasn't any super clear leader in that wide receiver clubhouse, right?
Yeah, that was a big question all spring is, do they have a number one wide receiver? And I still don't know that they do, but I will say that the final spring scrimmage, if you will, is the last Saturday where they held a practice was the closest thing they had to a spring game. And I thought that DiMaggio was outstanding, and you could see some of that downfield playmaking ability. He was the recipient of a 50-yard touchdown pass from freshman quarterback Ryan Hopkins. And certainly he showed that last year, DiMaggio did at a lower level. But that is how spring played out. You're right, that one guy would have a nice practice and it would be somebody else the next day. So I still don't know if they have a clear-cut number one, but I do think there are 5 wide receivers that have started to separate themselves. And it's Brooks and DiMaggio and 2 of the returners in Tyrell Henry and Eugene Hilton Jr. And then Shamar Rigby, who transferred from Oklahoma State, I think is going to be in the mix as well.
I'm just wondering if that's actually not a good thing or an acceptable thing to not have a true ball hawk number one guy in this offense, because I think, and I remember the first couple games of the season last year, specifically listening to LePay and Tauscher kind of talk about, what Jeff Grimes' offense is supposed to look like. And I remember early on, they're trying to run the ball with lots of motion and timing and misdirection. And I just wonder if this offense, when they pass the ball, isn't going to be a lot of a guy slipping out here, someone coming across the formation. Like, I think this should be an offense that schemes guys open and gives everybody opportunities in lots of different ways, right? I don't know that they're just going to line guys up on the boundary and throw go balls a ton.
Yeah, you would think so. This isn't going to be like it was a few years ago where Will Pauling has 74 catches, and he had an unbelievable year. And slot receivers are certainly the position that Phil Longo like to utilize a lot. But you want guys who can be difference makers and who can create separation and that Colton Joseph can have trust in. And if that is 3 or 4 wide receivers, then great. I don't know what the numbers ultimately are going to look like, but you'd expect them to be better than they were a year ago, assuming Colton can stay healthy because he's got the ability to sling it.
Do you think Jeff Grimes has the types of players on that O-line, tight end running, kind of that nucleus around the line of scrimmage to block and to shift and to move around? Because I feel like they didn't have maybe the proper types of players who fit that scheme last year. Do you think they maybe honed in a little bit better? And do you think they have the mix for Jeff Grimes to really play the way he wants to play? Impossible to tell now, I know, but your best guess.
Well, the injuries didn't help last year, and so that's always the caveat is can these dudes stay healthy? Big question to me is how good can this offensive line be? Because you're asking people to occupy a whole lot of different positions. And so if they play at a high level, then everything will function at a higher level. I certainly think there is a lot of good talent in the running back room by adding Abu Sama and Brian Jackson, who at 240 pounds is an absolute load. Darian Dupree will be in that mix as well. This isn't going to be one guy a la Jonathan Taylor, and I get that's not a great comparison because he's one of the best college running backs ever, but carrying 90% of the time is what I'm getting at here. There's going to be multiple backs, but you have PJ Wilkins, who started 2 games at guard for Ole Miss last year, and now he's going to be a starting tackle. Kevin Haywood's your other starting tackle, but he missed last year while recovering from an ACL injury, and you need some other younger players who got some experience a year ago to step up, like Colin Cubberly, like Emerson Mandel. So we'll see. We've been waiting a long time for an offensive line at Wisconsin to really be able to establish themselves consistently in the trenches.
It just seemed like their problem last year with the injuries wasn't just about getting stuff blocked up and protecting kind of in a traditional pocket, but it seemed early on, especially that Grimes, I want to shift guys. I want there to be timing. And it just didn't seem like that group was up to executing some of those things. So I think that's one of the more interesting things that I'm going to be looking for when the season starts. It's just a random recruiting thing. I was talking about this with Zach the other day. The 2027 recruiting class has 9 Wisconsin guys. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that that's a sign, and do you think that's evidence that Fickell and his staff have had some sort of adjustment or refocusing on the state? Or do you think it's an outlier, exceptional football class, and it's just a bunch of guys who wanted to be Badgers because they grew up here and they wanted to play for the school?
Well, I don't think the staff ever stopped trying to recruit this state. Luke has talked about that from the very beginning. I will say, I don't know if the staff had a full grasp early on of how important getting the best in-state players was because of what it can mean long-term, because of other guys wanting to play with each other and maybe their willingness to be here longer term. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I feel like it took a while to get the ball rolling on this. But again, they weren't neglecting in the state. They just weren't getting the top players. If you look at the last couple classes, they had 5 in-state players. They had Cooper Catalano. They just didn't get any of the 7 4-star composite players. I think this class is unique for a number of different reasons. First of all, how many years do we see 9 in-state players that are worthy of having Wisconsin offers? Not too often. The last time Wisconsin had 9 commits from in the state, 2011 under Brett Bielema. But this is really special because this is a group that wanted to play together. And once they got a couple, it really got the ball rolling. I think getting Kors Loken, the 4-star tight end from Iola Scandinavia, he strikes me as I think of him as a Graham Mertz type, mostly in the sense of the confidence coming in and the sort of magnetic personality that they have because other guys want to follow that. I remember I felt that way when being around Graham in high school. Obviously, they're totally different players who play different positions, different level of expectations. But there was this snowball effect. Now, then Cole Reeder committed, and Cole has a relationship with the Mallinger brothers because they've trained together. Those 2 offensive linemen subsequently committed to Wisconsin. So it's really unique this year or in 2027, and it's special. The staff deserves credit for getting them on campus, but these players deserve credit for being willing to come to Wisconsin, even if the program hasn't been winning games.
Well, and maybe kind of the spirit behind this question or why I ask this, if it's a Fickell thing or if it's more a Wisconsin thing, because I'm just wondering if this season isn't what it needs to be and they make a change at coach, is this recruiting staff going to still, hey, we want to come to Wisconsin? That's, that was our number one thing. It wasn't really a Luke Fickell thing, or does that class then scatter and, Wisconsin's worse off for it? I don't know that question is answerable, but that's kind of why I wonder.
Well, it's a fair question to ask. It's certainly impossible to know right now. I mean, I do think that the relationships these guys have with each other matters. I think the fact they get to play close to home matters, but we have to be real about this too. I always think it's funny when we talk about, the message is commit to the school, not to the coach. And that is great in theory. And also, these coaches are recruiting them for multiple years and they're talking constantly and they want to go play for that coach. So if it doesn't work out, they might not want to play there anymore. I guess we'll see how much that ultimately mattered if the staff isn't here. But I do think that this is sort of a unique group that a lot of them grew up supporting the Badgers. I mean, they just had a commit where they flipped from Iowa State. Keaton Wollen's a linebacker from Amory, Wisconsin, and Wisconsin wasn't on him at all. I mean, I think they dropped the ball on him because they didn't realize how talented he was, and then he committed to Iowa State. He showed up to a spring practice a few weeks ago hoping to get an offer, and he didn't. 5 days later, he committed to Iowa State, but then Tuff Borland, the linebackers coach, came in and offered him. This is a guy who grew up rooting for the Badgers. Those are exactly the type of players, if they are D1 level players, that you want to get.
Well, and when you first began your answer on this topic, you said, I don't think the staff realized the importance of, or the staff misjudged the importance of early on. That's just so emblematic of this group. I think you can find lots of examples of things that they didn't really fully grasp or appreciate or understand when they first got here. And it's taken years to bounce back, which is why this upcoming season is so important. Jesse Temple's here. I have a basketball question for you. And I know this might not be like top of mind, although you do have a story that I want to ask you about next about LaTravion Fenderson. So an in-state recruit from Racine. But I just noticed here and there, Bill asked you about this last week too. Donovan Davis from Kaukauna chooses Iowa State. Xavier Zenz goes to Illinois. Wisconsin's won a lot of games, so I have a hard time holding this against them too much, but I don't think they've got the number one guy in the state since Sam Decker, unless there's someone I'm forgetting. Being around the program and being around Wisconsin, can you help us understand a little bit Wisconsin's approach to in-state players? I know they get their fair share, but it just seems like every year there's another big-name player that's going elsewhere.
Well, basketball is top of mind right now. I'm actually spent the day interviewing for 3 different basketball stories that are going to be coming up here at Badger Connect. I'll say this. I've always felt that basketball and the AAU circuit was different from football because these kids are exposed nationally at a much younger age to coaches from all over the country. And so it's a little bit different to keep it a secret how good a player is. Sure. You're right. I mean, you don't get a 4-star prospect like the Donovan Davis. He ends up going to Iowa State and it hurts. I thought it was interesting when I wrote that story on Trey Fenderson, I was talking to his high school coach, and he said that he hopes that Trey can be the type of player that comes to Wisconsin, has success, and shows other players from portions of the state that might not have considered Wisconsin that you can come there and be successful because the style of play is different, that certainly there were players who in the past might have been turned off by a 59-57 game. And it's interesting because do they go out and get the players from Milwaukee or Racine? And again, Fenderson is from Racine. Maybe if you start to have more of that success, you can develop that over time. But I also think they put so much effort into recruiting the state, and they have in-state players on the roster right now. They've intentionally built it. So they've got Zach Kinziger and Will Garlock. And this is actually a story I'm working on right now. I had a chance to talk to both of them this week. Kinziger was both those players were super highly regarded. And it was important for Wisconsin to keep them into year 2 because they're culture guys. They're people who grew up rooting for the Badgers, kind of like we were talking about on the football side. So I know they haven't always gotten the number one guy, and that's frustrating. But I'd also say they figured out, I think, how to construct a roster by getting the culture guys, by getting players who can help from inside the state, but then going the international route. They got a bunch of New Zealand and Australia guys, and then going to the transfer portal and hitting home runs. So it may not be exactly as every in-state fan wants because you want to get the number one player, but I think they've gotten enough and they've consistently won with the way they've constructed their roster from a bunch of different avenues.
Well, and with their budget now, you might need to allocate funds to a player can come in and help you right away. An experienced guy who's able to come in. Like, we know he can play, as opposed to, well, this freshman's going to cost money and we don't know if he'll even play right away or be here long term. So I get that. That's a part of modern basketball. But something you also mentioned, like their play style, check in 10 years from now, in theory, they should be able to get more of those, Jalen Johnson or Tyler Hero, those types of players that come to mind. It's just they're not interested in a 59-58 basketball game. Well, hopefully over the next decade, you're able to pull in, a couple of those guys because their play style has changed, right?
Yeah, you would think so. I will say,
This is
Tyler
the
Hero was
West
committed
Coast
to
Sports
Wisconsin.
Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
All right, had to cut our conversation with Jesse there about 40 seconds short. Sorry, I did the math wrong a little bit. I chatted with Market Plunger too long back at 5:30. Kyle Harrison versus Edward Cabrera tonight. Brewers going for the sweep. Should be an entertaining baseball game. Brewers have already done the job. If they lose tonight, I'm not going to lose my mind, unless they gag and blow it. Also, if they lose, I'll probably lose my mind. I say I won't, but I will. Some really interesting narrative possibilities tonight if Kyle Harrison comes out and shows up Edward Cabrera, as we discussed about 40 minutes ago. I just think the paths that these two teams took in the offseason to acquire both of these guys, very different. Brewers spent a tenth of what the Cubs spent to get this guy compared to, Cabrera, which I think is interesting. That's part of the game that interests me. It has to, because I'm a Brewers fan. If that doesn't interest me, then nothing would interest me, because my team doesn't win championships. All right, enjoy the game tonight. We will be back tomorrow at 10 on the Bill Michaels Show. Rob Reichel and Jesse Temple tomorrow. The rest of you, I'll talk to you tomorrow at 4. Have a great night. Enjoy the game.